people, and welcome to the show. It's Wednesday night, and we have a lot to talk about. But before we get started, as per usual, I'm going to ask you to take a moment to look through your contacts, your emails, your text messages, and ask yourself who would be interested in Pam Key's show. Ping them, send them a message, semaphore flags, smoke signals, whatever you need to do, but get your friends and family to join our Patreon community and support this show. Today, we're going to talk about a few things. But first, I want to start off with the saga of Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's been in the top of the headlines today. And I am not going to talk about what is or is not going to happen to her. That you can read anywhere. I want to give you a little bit more of a discussion on how a Marjorie Taylor Greene or a Lauren Boebert or really any kind of QAnon, how does that happen? How does a person's mind go there? That's what we're going to talk about first. And the second thing we're going to talk about is about bail, because in the news today was the fact that Kyle Rittenhouse has violated the terms of his bail, and he is the prosecutors have asked that he be remanded into custody. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the bail process. And you may have seen in the headlines that Illinois is one of the first states that has gotten rid of cash bail. But I want to talk a little bit about the history of bail, the purpose of bail, and why we so badly need bail reform. And then lastly, instead of Q&A today, I'm going to talk about another Pam proposal. On the show from time to time, I'm going to put out solutions to problems that I see that I think can be addressed and redressed and need to be. And you can chime in and like my ideas, not like my ideas. Know that I will be continually working to move them across the line. But it's time for more than just being angry or displeased at something that we consider to be systemically unjust. If it's systemically unjust, then it's time to fix the system. And so I am going to propose an idea that I think is going to really fix a very broken system in our country. So let's start with the Marjorie Taylor Greene. I want to talk just generally here, not about her in particular, but about how does a mind get to a place where it can genuinely believe something that ridiculous as Jews owning lasers from the sky, as ridiculous as believing that there's been a face transplant between Donald Trump and Joe Biden and that the person who got inaugurated was actually Donald Trump. Like, how do you get to believe something like that? And what I want to tell you is that it starts with the slow feeding of a mindset that you are under siege. Things are being taken away from you. The things that you've come to understand to be normal are now no longer normal. And there's this other, this amorphous other that is attacking you and yours. It's going to take your job. It's going to take your money. It's going to take your property. It's going to take your citizenship. It's going to take your voice. It's going to take your right to be who you want to be and what you know to be right. And that other is getting bigger every day. It's getting more powerful every day. Look at it. Look what it's happening. Like pretty soon, your marriage isn't going to mean anything. Your business isn't going to mean anything. You know, pretty soon, you know, you're not going to be able to walk the streets in safety because they're going to let all these other people come and take your house. You know, that's what they mean, that they're going to want to take all your stuff. And what happens is this low-level fear mongering starts to create in the mentality that there is a group of people that must band together to protect themselves. And it's what I call a siege mentality. In a siege mentality, everybody on the team that is defending you and you are defending them and you are of the same mindset. Everybody that is on that team is a valued member of the team. And everybody that is not on that team is a threat to the team. So what happens in a siege mentality is that you literally let go of the things that you typically use to ascertain whether something is true or credible or right or proper, right? So in a typical universe, we decide who is credible and who should be believed based on their knowledge, their experience, their reputation for honesty, right? And so we value people who have education. We value people that have life experience. We value our elders. We value people who we know to be always truth-telling. We've built a reputation as good leaders or good governors, or people who we know usually always tell us the truth, right? And so what happens in a siege mentality is you literally cut off the mechanisms of assessing credibility. In your own mind, you stop asking, does this person have knowledge, data, information? Are they truth-telling? Are they credible? You cut that completely out of the process of assessing whether someone is telling you the truth or not. And the only thing that you judge credibility on is the extent to which this person is on your team. If they are on your team, they are credible. And if they are not on your team, they are not. And because that's all it takes to be credible, there's a default mechanism in the mind that says everybody on this team is credible. So if they tell me something, in order for the team to hang together, I have to treat it as true. And more importantly, if I later find out that it's not true, I have to think that they said it to advance the mission of the team. So at that point, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It only matters if it's effective. And that shift in a mindset from whether it's accurate to whether it's effective is a shift that happens kind of over time. But once it happens, once it takes place in the mindset that I am not listening to people to ascertain whether what they say is accurate. I'm listening to people to ascertain whether what they say is effective to advance the mission, which is to protect me and mine. And so that is how a mind like that can turn to look at somebody who's worked in government for 35 years under Democrats and Republicans and say, you are now the deep state. Because you're not in the mission. You're not advancing this mission. If you're not advancing this mission, I have to reject you. No matter how thoughtful, how educated, how consistent, or how honest or moral you are, I can't accept what you are saying because what you are saying is not driving our mission forward. In fact, because you're not driving our mission forward, you're necessarily holding our mission back. That is how you get to the place in your mind that everybody who is not on your team is the deep state. Right? And the only thing that measures whether you are on the team or you are not on the team is the degree to which you support Donald Trump, or you support white supremacy, or you support Q, or you support whatever sub-permutation of that. If you are part of that team, then you are credible. If you are not part of that team, then you are fundamentally not credible, no matter how honest, educated, smart, intelligent, decent you may be. So when you cut off those components of someone's character as an assessment of credibility, you cut off the concept that those components have value, right? You've now cut off the idea that facts that can be verified in life have merit. You've cut off the capacity to analyze whether somebody is a truth teller. You've cut off, you've put on equal footing a person who has studied absolutely nothing with a person who has a PhD. You put them on their opinions on equal footing because the person who knows jack all is on your team, and the person with the PhD is on the other team. And since you've decided that you must reject everybody on the other team, you now reject the concept of PhDs. You reject the concept of reading scholarship altogether, right? All that has to happen is that this person's on my team. So if this person's on my team, then they're credible, and anything they say can be credible. If you're wondering why it is that these QAnon people could materially be told to find something completely false, and then still not be mad at the person who told that falsity or that lie, it's because they believed that that person at the time that they spoke that lie was engaging in advancing the mission. Ergo, they're still credible because they still are pursuing the mission, right? That's how they can be proved wrong about COVID over and over and over again and still not be mad at the people who were wrong originally. Because to them, they're advancing the mission. So when you cut off the brain from the analysis of what is true, what is credible, what is verifiable, and you only drive in the lane of who is with me, then somebody can pop into that lane and prove to you that they are with you, they are with the mission, and guess what? They have a secret to share with only the people in this mission, and that secret is that Jews own lasers in outer space that they're using to zap the planet. Well, if only the people in your team get privy to this information, then that becomes a belief that unifies you. And you look at everybody that's not in the team like they're not in the know. They just have no idea what's coming, right? Like, just you wait. We're going to prove it right? Of course, they've not proved not one of their conspiracy theories, but they still hang together under that siege mentality. And it is under that siege mentality that you can believe something like thousands of people engaged in a conspiracy to make Parkland a false flag operation where there were actors and the people didn't really die. You can believe some shit like that because your team is telling you, and you're echoing amongst each other, that the folks who are reporting Parkland to us want to take our guns, and therefore they're lying. They have to be lying. We make them liars because they're against our mission. And we don't have to actually spend any time thinking about the merit of what they're saying. We reject it out of hand because they're the ones who are saying it. And so if they said Parkland happened, then Parkland didn't happen. If they say the sky is blue, then the sky is purple, right? If they say, because it's who's saying it, that is not credible because they don't share my mission. Not because they're inaccurate or dishonest, but because they don't share my mission. That's how you get a Marjorie Taylor Greene. That is how you get a Lauren Boebert. It is a type of brainwashing. It is a type of psyop. And it wasn't started at QAnon. It was not started at Fox News. It was started by Morton Downey Jr. and Rush Limbaugh 2 decades ago. And it was fed, and it was fed, and it was fed, and it was fed. And now you're watching the sickness of a Marjorie Taylor Greene or a Lauren Boebert completely take over the entire Republican Party to the point where they can't even say that harassing teenagers, saying racist and anti-Semitic things, championing the assassination of members of Congress, they can't even say that that is wrong because she's on their team and they're on hers. And in that siege mentality, anything is acceptable in the advancement of the mission. And nothing is worth conceding to the other side. Nothing. Including morality or decency. That is how a Lauren Boebert happens. That is how a Marjorie Taylor Greene happens. And that is where the GOP is right now. It is not salvageable. You cannot get back from that, right? Once they've decided that they are going to reject anything that is good and decent as long as it comes from the other side, and they're going to accept anything that is immoral and unspeakable because it's on their side, they're not salvageable.
If you like what you just heard, you can find out so much more and hear so much more on my Patreon channel. Patreon.com/Pam Keith FL. That's where you hear the rest of this discussion, and there's lots more to share.